Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're looking at the absolute pinnacle of modern luxury. You know the ones, those sleek, roaring supercars that literally millions of us dream of owning. Just saying the name Ferrari probably brings up images of Formula One victories, those exclusive showrooms, and collectors dropping absolute fortunes. But we're not just looking at the finished, polished product today. We're going to decode the grit, the sacrifice, and the relentless drive that originally built this whole empire. Because Ferrari wasn't built on pre-existing wealth, right? And it for sure wasn't built by playing it safe with some calculated corporate strategy. No, it was forged by one man's singular, all-consuming obsession with being the absolute fastest.
Which brings us to a really serious question. Can obsession build an empire, or does it ultimately destroy the person chasing it? When you look at a modern Ferrari today, it's so easy to forget the massive human cost that went into its foundation. The story we're unpacking today is absolutely a masterclass in vision and leadership, but it is equally a story about failure. It's about a man who risked literally everything, walking an incredibly fine line between building a lasting legacy and losing it all.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The obsession begins. We are heading back to early 1900s Italy. Section 2. Building Scuderia Ferrari. This is where the dream meets reality, and where a relentless pursuit really takes off. So, looking at this timeline, I want you to imagine a young boy named Enzo Ferrari. He's standing by the edge of a dirt track in the early 1900s, watching his very first motor race. He didn't just see metal machines rolling by, he actually felt the mechanical noise reverberating right in his chest. He saw the raw speed, the dust, that visceral excitement of pushing engineering to its absolute limits. That single moment, it lit a spark in young Enzo that would eventually burn down all his other life plans. He fell completely, hopelessly in love with speed. But, as we know, a dream without action is just a fantasy. Execution is where that romantic vision meets grueling reality. Moving down the timeline, Enzo didn't just passively hope for success. Starting after that fateful race, he spent years grinding it out in his own racing career. He eventually landed a gig working for the established automotive giant, Alfa Romeo. He learned the ropes, he understood the industry, but he wanted his own team. This drive pushed him toward building Scuderia Ferrari, an era defined by constant setbacks and early failures. He was pouring every ounce of his energy into making this independent racing dream a reality, often operating right on the edge of total financial ruin. He just flatly refused to quit.
And this brilliantly illustrates what truly set his early cars apart from the pack. The prancing horse is so much more than just a corporate logo. From the very first car bearing this famous badge, it stood as a symbol of unyielding craftsmanship. Ferrari decided early on that every single car would be built by hand, with this meticulous, almost crazy attention to detail. Every engineering decision was driven by a sheer need for perfection. This wasn't about setting up a mass manufacturing assembly line to just crank out and sell as many units as possible. No way. It was about creating rolling art explicitly designed to win races. That dedication fundamentally separated them from anyone else, right from the very start.
Section 3. The price of perfection. A fight for survival.
As we all know, demanding perfection always exacts a heavy toll. The incredible momentum Enzo was building collided violently with the darkest period of the 20th century. It shifted the narrative from a purely romantic pursuit of speed to a brutal, desperate fight for survival, marked by immense personal and professional sacrifices. We see a really stark contrast here. On one side, you have this pure, unadulterated dream of racing and engineering superiority, but on the other, the devastating, destructive reality of World War II. During the war, Ferrari's factory was bombed. It was heavily damaged. He faced crushing financial pressures that brought his entire operation right to the brink of bankruptcy. His pure engineering philosophy was constantly at war with the chaotic, destructive forces of the world around him. He wasn't just fighting other drivers on the track anymore, you know? He was fighting to keep the lights on and his dream alive amidst the literal rubble of a global conflict.
So, the crucial point is how this intense historical pressure cooked up even fiercer business competition in the years that followed. And that led to a legendary clash, Scuderia Ferrari versus Automobili Lamborghini. As historical accounts tell us, Ferruccio Lamborghini, who was a really successful tractor manufacturer at the time, approached Enzo with a complaint about the clutch in his personal Ferrari. Well, Enzo famously dismissed him, and that perceived insult sparked Lamborghini to go and build his own rival supercar company, essentially just to prove a point. Suddenly, Ferrari was facing immense pressure from all sides. He was fighting off this aggressive new domestic rival, dealing with the mounting, suffocating expectations to dominate in Formula One, and desperately trying to keep the whole business financially viable.
Section 4. The global luxury legend. The ultimate dream.
Immense pressure is exactly what creates diamonds, right? Emerging from the ashes of wartime destruction and the intense heat of these rivalries actually forged Ferrari into something entirely untouchable. The brand evolved from a struggling, scrappy racing team into the ultimate global dream. They began dominating Formula One, and their street cars became the absolute symbol of global prestige, high engineering, and total exclusivity. Now, what's really interesting about this chart is that despite a massive, towering global demand, where millions of people around the world wanted to own a Ferrari, the company maintained a strict strategy of intentionally limited production. This is the sheer power of intentional scarcity. Enzo realized really early on that to maintain the aura of the brand, you must always produce one less car than the market actually demands. By strictly restricting access, Ferrari ensured that their cars weren't just modes of transportation, they were rare, coveted artifacts. This brilliant strategy transformed a car company into one of the strongest, most resilient luxury brands on Earth.
Section 5. Lessons in Empire Building. Let's look at how these historic events map directly onto modern business strategy.
We've looked at the epic history, the wars, the rivalries, but let's pivot from the history books directly into actionable strategy. Understanding exactly how Ferrari survived and thrived provides an absolute masterclass for any modern entrepreneur, startup founder, or leader looking to build something meaningful. Let's break down these 4 fundamental rules. First, luxury is built on scarcity, not mass production. Limiting access actually increases your value, proving you really don't always have to be everywhere all at once. Second, a clear identity is way more valuable than chasing every market. Ferrari never tried to build a cheap commuter car just to boost their quarterly numbers, right? They knew exactly who they were and stayed entirely true to that identity. Third, great brands protect their reputation through consistency. From the hand-built engines to the deep meaning behind the prancing horse logo, their dedication to perfection literally never wavered. And finally, number 4, passion can build extraordinary businesses, but it absolutely must be balanced with sound decisions. Enzo's passion for racing was legendary for sure, but his ability to navigate near bankruptcy, wartime destruction, and fierce rivals was what actually kept the empire standing. Ferrari's survival wasn't just about good engineering, it was a total masterclass in protecting a brand identity.
Because at the end of the day, Ferrari was never just about building cars. It was about building a legacy. Behind every legendary company stands someone who point-blank refused to accept the ordinary. Every wrench turned, every race won or lost, every difficult business decision. It was all in service of a massive vision that was meant to outlast the man himself. That is the true essence of visionary leadership. It's about building something that stands the test of time long, long after you are gone.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought. What will your obsession build? We all have passions. We all have things that drive us. But are you willing to refine that passion with discipline, protect it through the incredibly hard times, and actually shape it into a legacy? Take these lessons from Ferrari, apply them to your own journey, whatever that may be, and never, ever settle for the ordinary. Thanks for joining me to explore this incredible story, and I highly encourage you to think about how you can apply that kind of intentionality and perfection to your own work today.